Welcome to my channel. Let's get that out of the way. Today I wanted to talk about something a little more serious, and it is definitely brought forward by recent events that are going on. And it is about my promise to diversity in my homeschool. I don't have anything scripted. I'm just going to kind of talk and share some thoughts quickly. I don't want this to even be a long video, but I am the mother of 2 biracial children. I am married to an African-American man. I am aware of racism. I have been aware for quite some time. Man, I don't even know where to go with this, but I guess we'll go back to, we'll just talk about some background first. I am a white woman, and I grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood. Even with saying that, I grew up with a lot of disadvantages. However, I've still always had white privilege. I do believe it exists. I know there are people probably rolling their eyes, and that's fine. If you don't want to follow me for that reason, that's fine too. You can see your way out, honestly. And so I grew up being exposed to a lot of what is currently going on in the media. I am aware of police brutality. I have seen it against many races. My own uncle, I've watched them beat him. I do believe there is police brutality more heavily enforced in poor neighborhoods. And I also do believe that you are more likely to die at the hands of a police officer being a minority, okay? Even with seeing whites who have been treated the same, I will still tell you, I still believe you have more chance of dying at the hands of a cop or being wrongfully convicted, even any of that sort of stuff, based on your skin, because white privilege does exist. White privilege has been established for a very long time. The majority is responsible for building and creating a lot of the justice system, a lot of the policing that we do. And so because of this long history with white supremacy, to be quite honest, that still has effects today. Have we made progress? Yes. Have we made enough? No. Because of the long history, what the majority has institutionalized, there are still long-term effects. We have made progress, but we haven't perfected it. Will we ever? That's hard to say. That's really hard to say when you look at the heaviness of the subject. And with saying all of that, I do have a husband that I myself have feared when he's gone a little too longer than we had planned for him to go. It crosses my mind that these sorts of situations can happen due to his skin. And obviously he's a very aware man himself. He's a highly intelligent and educated man who has a very thoroughly thought out idea and opinion of his own on all of this. And even though I was fully aware of a lot of this stuff, I won't say fully, though I was aware of a lot of this stuff, being married to such an amazingly brilliant man who has done a lot of his own homework on all of this has opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't even notice before him. And here we are now with 2 kids, possibly more in the future, who are biracial. There's a lot that goes into that. A lot. That's very heavy to think into because they are both white and Black. My youngest technically could pass for white in a sense. My oldest probably could too. She does have browner skin than my youngest. My youngest is very fair with auburn hair and green eyes. And then my oldest is brown hair, brown skin, brown eyes. And it's funny, I do get questions on Viviana's background. A lot of times people think she's Hispanic, that her father might be Hispanic, but she is white and Black. And with that, for a long time, I felt that heaviness and that responsibility to make them aware of racism, and not only just the bad stuff, but also make them aware of diversity and understand differences and celebrate them. But I felt like I hadn't been pulling my weight. I kept mentioning it to my husband, like I want to make sure that these things are taught to them young and that they can grasp it on their level. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel comfortable in their skin now so that later when they face racism or any type of cultural affliction, that they would feel comfortable in who they are in their identity and wouldn't have a complex about that. That would be the dream. Obviously, I can't control how they interpret life through their own eyes. But with all the recent events and sitting down and just reflecting and thinking, I really felt it heavy on my heart that I should be pulling more weight. I homeschool for a lot of reasons. And one of those reasons is the freedom to educate how I see fit. And I don't mean that in the sense of altering truth. I do have a problem with that when people homeschool to filter out and to keep things hidden from their child. If that's what you do, that's you. But in my house, that's not what we do. And it's so hard though. How do you go about that? How do you go about showing your children some of the heaviest, hardest subjects that this world has to offer and help them to still feel, I guess, not overwhelmed by it and to feel secure? And so that's what's kind of held me back, because I'm like, I don't even know where to start, you know? And with all the recent events, I've been reflecting and thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? No. I can't sit around and keep saying I want to do it. I have to do it. Starting this year, I plan to, with the school year coming, make school more diverse and inclusive. I'm still piecing together what that looks like, but I do feel the need to publicly proclaim that, because I'm not the only parent thinking this. I don't care what race your kids are, you're probably thinking similar things. If you have children of those minority backgrounds, you're probably thinking about it more. So I'm processing still what that looks like, but I do know a big part of it is making sure that in our home, I'm presenting them with as much diversity as possible and to show them and make them comfortable with that. So that included, I recently went through our bookshelf and I said, what in here, what do these books reflect? When I look at them, what does it reflect? And I was really worried that when we went through our books, I would see only white faces on books, to be honest. I was worried about that. And humorously enough, it wasn't that. What I seen was 90% books on animals. We have an obsession with animal books. So I was sitting back like, oh, okay. The reason we're not so diverse is because we tend to have books that personify animals or are about animals. That's what we do. My kids are animal lovers. I grew up with a ton of pets, so it just happens. But yeah, like 90% of the books were about animals, and the other 10% were broken up into like 5% about animals and people, and then 5% about people. So I was like, okay, we need to branch out and stop buying animal books for sure. But I was happy to see that out of that small percentage I had, we did have some books that represented different backgrounds. Still with that, it wasn't enough. So now I'm consciously making the effort to buy these books that represent many different skin types and or skin tones and different hair types and different eyes and different ethnicities and backgrounds and all of that, even beyond white and black in a sense. I do notice we don't really have any books with other minorities. I don't have books of Asian cultures. I don't have books of South American cultures. None of that. I don't have any of that. And so I have started to seek out books and find them and buy them as I can, because hello, books are expensive. So we have started doing that. So I want them to be comfortable with reading books about different walks of life, different stories, and just, you know, exploring life through other people. And I think that's a big part of making things feel inclusive for them. Another thing is making sure, now granted, I don't believe in necessarily seeking out friends based on skin color. That's a bit ridiculous, but I still feel a responsibility to make sure that her friendships are like play dates. Are we exposing her to African American kids? Are we exposing her to Asian friends? Are we, you know, that kind of stuff? And I'd like to say we are. One of our closest friends is part white, part Korean, and she loves and adores that girl. She has friends that are white, she has friends that are black. So I don't think there's too much to move around in there. It's just making sure I'm consciously making an effort to make sure that she's exposed to as many different children as possible, so that she feels that comfort factor on a social level. She does cheer, though right now we had to withdraw from cheer because all the germs. We won't even get into that, but that was one that was hard for me, because I was thinking, when I sought out activities for her to do, I said I don't want her to go, and this was way before even all this happened, this was a while ago, I don't want her to be in activities where she's the only person of color. And that's where it gets hard, because when you get into the more expensive sport options, I do feel like there tends to be more white, to be honest. And once again, that plays into social advantages and disadvantages, socioeconomical advantages and disadvantages. But we did find a cheer team that I feel pretty confident with. There are a lot of children who, and it's a very elite team, very well known throughout the US. She wants to do cheer. And there are children who are biracial like her. There are children who are, that appear to be full African American, though I don't know, because I don't know them that well. And there are children that are white. And there are a few other minorities in there as well. So just making the conscious effort in those ways. I need to stop from going off on a rabbit trail. So those are things that we have done to start making sure that she is socially and consciously aware of differences and being okay with diversity. And we've also touched on racism a bit. She understands what is going on currently. She understands the background on recent events of murders by the police, let's be real. And she's aware that skin plays part in that. My youngest is still halfway battling. She doesn't know what's going on anyways, but my oldest is very emotionally in tune, and so it can be quite easy, honestly, for her to grasp a simple version of what's going on. And so she's aware of the protests and the reasoning behind it. She's aware of all that. So we are introducing racism and having those conversations, and I just want to encourage you guys to do that too. I really do. I think it's so important, because whether we see it or not, they pick up on so much stuff. It's crazy how months later they'll mention something, you're like, I didn't even know they were paying attention to me. And sorry, when I'm thinking a lot, I don't look at the camera. I'm just kind of staring around and talking. But it's so important to make sure that those glimpses of what's going on that they're getting, that they are getting on, of course, on their level, as simply as you can put it, without scaring the life out of them with this stuff. You know, just sharing it and trying to explain what's going on, and how, and open that window to conversation about racism and how it plays how it plays its role in society. And then that brings up the conversations of amazing people in the history that have made differences. That brings up ways that we can, you know, do things to make changes. It opens up just so many different ways to conversate about it, and to show your support for diversity and for trying to eliminate racism. So now I'm just going on a tangent, guys. I'm sorry. I told you it's not scripted. I'm just kind of talking and thinking. And yeah, I wanted to, like I said, make a public proclamation, in a sense of saying that I'm going to uphold myself to instilling our diversity values. I don't even know if that's the way you would say it, but that's what I'm calling it. Our diversity values into our own home, and to let homeschooling be a place where they can safely explore that, and just our home in general, opening up conversations just in our household about race and being comfortable in our own skin, and how to handle other people that aren't comfortable with your skin. So yeah, just I don't even know how to end this, because it's such a heavy subject and there's so much you could say. I think we're just gonna end it there. I just wanted to make that public, and you guys feel free to check in with me and just say, hey, how are you? What are you doing recently to keep that going? Okay, sorry, I'm probably zoomed in more, but camera just died. It's letting me know it's too hot. I've been talking too long. So we're gonna end this video here. But thank you so much for patiently making through this video, if you have. leave a flower emoji down so I know that you talked through my long-winded self. Why can't I talk? A flower emoji. Anyways, I want you guys to have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Sorry to cut it short. Camera's dying. All right, bye.